Sometimes when you're pushed to the wall, you have two choices: to create or to be destroyed. I couldn't even afford experienced staff, so I started off for NYC students. I had no money to pay salaries. I couldn't get staff, so I had to keep working at what was in my hands.
They powerful, unstoppable, and focused.
Hunponu-Wusu, I'm the founder of Woodhall Capital.
You're one of the most Googled persons of 2023.
And somebody said to me at the time, leave my company does not mean you should leave the world.
People have subscribed to those schools of thought, which is if you want to achieve real wealth, it has to be illegitimate. Now, so what has it been in your case? Today with me here, we have an amazing woman, a high flyer, someone who I really look up to, one of my many mentors. They powerful, strong, beautiful Mojisola.
Good morning. Good morning.
So, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hunponu-Wusu, I'm the founder of Woodhall Capital, a financial services company. We raise international funds for banks, for corporates, and for governments. We have offices in Lagos, in Abuja, Dubai, and in London. And I shuttle between the four offices.
All right. So we're just going to be touching on a few topics. And so tell us, how did it all start? Woodhall Capital.
Well, Woodhall Capital started after a period of unemployment for me. I wasn't working. I was an investment banker, and I started my career in the city of London. And then I moved to Nigeria. And then I didn't work for 2 years. And at the end of the 2 years, I set up Woodhall Capital to raise international funding for banks, for corporates, and for governments. It was pretty hectic, I would say, at the beginning because I had no money. And I had to wait, and I've spoken about this in other conversations with other friends, about delayed gratification. So I just had to wait for the transactions that I was working on at the time to close before I could even get an office. I couldn't get an office. I didn't have the money to get an office. I couldn't get staff. I had no money to pay salaries. So I had to keep working at what was in my hands and waiting patiently, frustratingly sometimes, for those transactions to close. And then I had liquidity to put infrastructure together, to put a structure together, to get an office. And then maybe after the second transaction, I had enough money to walk into Bow Concept and get furniture. Third transaction, I could get staff, and I couldn't even afford experienced staff. So I started off for NYC students. So step by step. So it wasn't easy financially, but I enjoyed every second of it.
All right. So you mentioned something about you started a new business after a phase of unemployment. What gave you the audacity to even dare such a bold move?
I think sometimes necessity is the mother of all inventions. I had no choice. And sometimes when you're pushed to the wall, you have two choices: to create or to be destroyed. And I got to the point where I was tired of being angry and bitter. You know, there's a day I remember saying to myself, snap out of it. You're angry, you're bitter, you're thinking and overthinking. And then I got sick of myself being so toxic and negative. And I will never forget that day. I just said, you know what? Let's just get on with life. And somebody said to me in Yoruba at the time, you know, leave my company does not mean you should leave the world. I can't remember how to say it in Yoruba precisely. But I just thought that's so true. The fact that I don't have a job does not mean I should die or no longer exist. So I had that conversation myself. I remember in December 2013, and I said, Mojisola, snap out of it. You've had your time to cry, to analyze, to moan, to overthink, to underthink, and all of those things. But you know what? There's a new year coming. we need to get, you can't, 2014 cannot come and it's all wiped out in your memory because you were sad. So I think that initiative or that conversation with myself really helped. I had to go for healing. So I did a class in Guiding Lights Assembly Church called Master Life. And that was because I was angry with God also. I was very angry with God. I felt he had betrayed me. And so I needed to go and fix that relationship and have a conversation, a very open conversation with him. And in Master Life, you write a letter to God every day, and then he answers you. So you write, and then you wait for him, and then he responds. And I needed to have that conversation. I didn't want people to say it as well. Romans 12:17 says, I wanted to tell him how upset and betrayed I felt. And I wanted to hear from him. So it's important that when you've gone through a setback in life, a divorce, unemployment, in my case, I was sacked. Anything traumatic, one of the things you should try to do if you can is go and try to heal so that when you start, you're not operating from a wounded space. So I did this course and it was so good. I remember loads of times I'll be writing this letter and I'll be crying. And I nobody can see that book because I was writing and, pouring out my anger. Incidentally, I wasn't angry with anybody. I was angry with God because I felt that he could have stopped all these guys and all these people are just small in comparison to what he could have done if he rescued me.
It's deep. Now, at that point where you felt betrayed, where you felt angry, did you feel like it's unfair that you're similarly stuck in this situation and you chose to obey God and every other person was moving on?
I didn't think it was unfair. I just didn't understand why what I'd been told about his rescuing power wasn't being actualized in my life. The way God deals with other people, I tend not to concern myself with it because it's frustrating and it goes nowhere. So I was just really, curious about why the Bible says that if you do this, or the people that did it, this is what happened. But the opposite happened to me, seemingly. And so I was frustrated and angry. And that's why I felt betrayed.
Okay. So let's talk about imposter syndrome for just a minute. I mean, you come from a background where your mom is an entrepreneur and, you studied abroad, you're English schooled. And then you've decided to go on to take on these big assignments. At any point in time, did you feel like, I'm not doing past myself like this? Or didn't any voice whisper to you, Moji or no?
I think that voice is always there because maybe when you were growing up, you'd have either from others, for some people from their homes, don't do more than yourself. Don't do past yourself. And you think it's right long. Exactly. And you think it's a joke. And it is a joke, actually. But some voices stick. And they come up when you want to do big things. And it will just speak to you. And so you always have it. I have it all the time. I have it every time I'm doing something bigger than the season I'm in now. Every time I'm transcending seasons, the voice will always be there. And I was saying to you yesterday I remember when I finally got the guts to get the office, I'd been seeing this building and I watched the building grow and then build the building. And then I finally decided I was just going to go outside the building and ask if there were any empty places. The building was a residential building. And I don't know why I went there to ask them if they had office buildings. And even I thought, why are you asking residential building to see if they have office building? Anyway, I asked them, they went to call the manager and he was like, yes, the office is here. I couldn't believe it. And then he said, do you want to come in and see it? And this was even before I had closed any transaction.
Any major transaction.
I needed to hold on to something and I needed to have a dream. And so when they told me the rent, something dollars, I was like, goodbye, see you later. But at least I had something that I was visualizing. And of course, when I could afford it, I then went back. But I remember in between that, I'd seen a friend and or someone I knew, I wouldn't say friend, someone I knew, and she said, "Oh, Moji, what are you doing now?" I said, "Oh, I'm trying to set up a business, and I'm going to get an office and start the office." I don't know why I said that, because she was not a very close friend. And sometimes your spirit wants you to confess something, right? And it doesn't matter who you say it to. Your spirit wants you to birth it.
Yeah.
So I said to her, "I'm going to open an office on Mosley Road in Ikoyi," and she looked at me and thought, she did this.
She like looked from up to down.
And she said to me, almost the Moji that is unemployed. She didn't say that. She said, "You always do more than yourselves, don't you?"
Yeah.
That was the first time I understood the meaning of an arrow. I was like, ouch. And then I actually said to myself, why did you tell her? You haven't even got the money to do it. Why did you tell her? And I know because it was my spirit that wanted to confess and say, sometimes if you have dreams and you keep it to yourself, sometimes you need to say it out and birth it. And she really, really wounded me that day. And I realized that you should be careful who you share your vision with. And then I sort of left her, and then I went on to work, and I got the office in the end, in that building.
That's my girl.
But I'd learned something along with the way that you should be careful who you share your dreams with and your vision, but at the same time with the balance that you need to speak things forth. Maybe making sure that the platforms that you're speaking those things from can nurture and grow your vision.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So now, still leaning on that same conversation, how do you, I'm trying to frame it correctly, how do you deal with people in your space that are not the happiest? They don't have the happiest disposition towards your growth projection. How do you deal with haters?
Oh my God. I don't deal with haters. Haters are dealing with themselves. So they're dealing with themselves.
Already.
So there's so much going on. And if you try to deal with them, you distract yourself, right? So a hater is facing you because you are on the trajectory to something. A hater also wants a response. And someone said something to me the other day, demons hate being ignored. It's my new watchword. When you ignore a demon, it shrieks and shouts and then it goes away. Yes. And so what you don't want to be doing is feeding that demon or that hater with attention. So don't deal with them, ignore them, and just keep going. Don't react. Don't give them your energy. They're giving you energy. Take their energy, don't return any back to them, and use it as your trajectory to go on in life. So no, I ignore them, I don't deal with them. And I actually also try not to put myself in their space. So if I know there's a gathering of people and they're going to be talking about other people's business and all of those things, I try not to be in those rooms and to remove myself as much as I can from those situations.
Now, for you, being sacked, which is a good thing in retrospect, and you going on to start this amazing company, this the Woodhall Foundation, you have definitely impacted a lot of people, of which I am a beneficiary, right? And then we went through this intense 8 months mentorship program, and we're meeting week in, week out, and we were on our next, we're submitting proposals, we're meeting with mentors, and it was one of the most beautiful periods in my life. I was just asking myself, how did I get here? Remember that dinner we had at the house? And I was just like, okay, I mean, just coming from Ile-Ife, and here I am amongst these people who have done so beautifully well for themselves. And you're just here holding our hands and lifting us up. I mean, for me, that was one of the most impactful seasons of my life. And I say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And after that, I've gone ahead to, you know, flag the largest mentorship platform in the creative industry. So I currently have about 1,000 photographers that I'm mentoring.
Amazing.
I didn't tell you that.
You didn't tell me that.
And
Mhm.
you didn't know
Mm-mm.
because you were out of the country.
Mhm.
Angel, can I have that?
Mm.
Let me bring that.
Okay, what is it?
Ta-da! So we got this.
Awards Africa Prize for Photography 2023.
Yep.
Oh wow.
So we got that. So I'll present it to you.
Oh, amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is amazing.
Thank you for being a mentor.
Thank
you for being one of the. Thank you for being one of the amazing people that God
Did
has
you
used
get
for me.
that? Thank you.
All right. So now this is going to lead me to a very, very important question. What is the benefit of mentorship?
I think mentorship is a hand-holding, loving, secure, safe space where you can grow, make mistakes, and be lovingly guided by someone who probably has gone before you. Perhaps not in the same sector, but at least in the same life experience of setting up a business, going up in the career ladder. And so finding someone who the energy feels loving, trusting, safe, to be able to share your ups and downs. I have mentors, I have a lot of mentors, and they certainly help me, they guide me, they cover for me, they scold me when I do things that are off. But the underline is that it will always be done in love. And you can see, even when they're frustrated, that they are frustrated because they see potential in you and they're trying to help you midwife and birth that vision. So it's so huge. And I was discussing with you that I'm in the middle of a huge transaction, and which would then propel a new season in my life.
I know.
But my mentor, I have never seen this sort of, authentication or stamp marking before. The day I was going to do the presentation, my mentor asked me to come and sit in her office before I walked in.
Own office.
And so she sent a message, asked me to come out of the conference room, and she asked me to go and sit in her office for 5 minutes. She didn't say anything to me. She just said, "How are you? How's it going? Are you ready?" I said, "I'm ready. You ready?" "Ready." She said, "Okay, we're going to walk into that room together." And that was such a powerful thing for me. And I just watched her. And she knew what she was doing. I was nervous, thinking of all the things I had said I was going to say in the presentation. And we walked in with this very incredibly powerful woman. And she took charge of the atmosphere. And then she said to me, "All right, fine. Hello, everyone. Moji, sit directly opposite me and start your presentation." That was so amazing. She didn't tell me what to say. She gave me the look of, just be you. Don't be frightened and let that energy come out. And that was really, 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 really amazing. I think it's, you need people like that are in the room saying to you, "Let's go get this." And I certainly felt that. After the presentation, she sent me the most amazing message saying how impressed she was and how my strength was not lost in it. It was a very difficult presentation because people were coming back at me and trying to shrink what I was presenting and asking if I should do half of it. And I said no. And I kept saying no. It was the full thing or nothing. And she was very proud of that I stood my ground. And because I also understood the game.
Now, there is one thing to understand the game. There is one thing to be aware of the spirit of the game. Now, you were saying something about, people coming back at you. And now let's talk about the power play in the boardroom. And when I mean power play, I'm not just talking about the corporate political power play. I'm talking about the spiritual power play that comes to play in that sector. How do you position yourself?
Well, of course, you know I'm a person of faith. And I never position myself. Christ positions me. So the job is already done for me. Whenever I try to do things myself, I have to think of all these things and think of the chess game. So I bumped into you in the airport. I couldn't have positioned myself for that. You couldn't have positioned yourself for that to ask me if I could kindly do this. So there's no game going on. There's no clouds. There's no way on earth you could have known I was going to be there. There's no way on earth I could have known you could have been there. So Christ is doing the positioning for you. And you just need to walk in the truth of his reality. And I'll say something. I personally do not give much attention to other spiritual energies. I stay in my own truth where Christ has placed me in heavenly places. And I just continue going. I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not impressed. I'm not fascinated by what other games that other people are playing. I sit in the truth of what Christ is. And I think that's enough. And to be wholesome in that is very powerful. It's much more powerful than you know that any other powers know that's where you're sitting. And even in those realms, you're evangelizing it, you're light, because they see wealth with contentment. They see wealth with light. They see so much that you don't know. And even whatever sector you're operating at, to be wholesome in that knowledge of Christ positioning you is evangelism.
Thank you very much. Now, since we are on the very topic of power, wealth, and spirit, now I need us to slam this on the head once and for all. There is a narrative that is strong right now where people have subscribed to those schools of thought, which is if you want to achieve real wealth, transgenerational wealth, sustainable wealth, that you cannot be legit. It has to be illegitimate. And you have to have done a whole lot of nasty stuff to get there.
Well, first of all, a part of that conversation is geographical, depending on where you grew up or where you come from. Because there are also many people that don't think that. And they're not subscribed to that. So first of all, what I would say is out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So if you believe that success and legitimate success, transgenerational success, can only be gotten from illegitimate activities, that also says a lot about you. First of all, even if you're not saying it, even if you're saying it about somebody else, the fact that you're subscribing to that, take a step back, because the person who you're saying it to could be thinking, I wonder what's going on with this person. So it also says a lot about you. The answer is that partly true that you have to be subscribed to something that is deep, especially if you want sustainable wealth and transgenerational wealth. And because I am a person of faith, I believe that you need to, the higher you go, the deeper in Christ you have to be. So the depth and where your source is what the difference is. So I feel that the top of the ladder is not where you dance, because you fall off. So at that altitude, you need to be deeper in Christ. And that's what it is. Your consecration level with Christ, your relationship with Christ, the time you spend with him has to be deeper. And I can only speak for what I subscribe to. And that's my answer to when people ask me about that.
So the other day I was at your house in Banana, and lovely house they have, by the way. And I saw this soft, gentle Bobo, and you were hugging and you guys were pegging. And I was like, oh. And for me, if I'm going to describe you as a bullet. Powerful, unstoppable, and focused. Right? Now, how did that man catch that bullet?
Wow. I don't know about catching, but I actually fancied somebody else before I met him.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, so I met my husband. We've been together for 30 years, married for 20 years, or 29 years, married for 19 years. And I met him when I was 17 years old in a school, and it was a boarding school in the UK. And I actually liked somebody else. And then he came and bullied the poor guy, away from chasing me. And he used his Niger energy.
Wait, was that guy not Niger? It was not Niger.
No, he was.
Niger they carry last now.
So he was a British guy, British Thai guy, and he just used his energy. I just
shit.
I just took the guy away. And I actually didn't like him in the beginning. I reported him to the school for stalking me.
You reported him?
Yes, he was stalking me. So I actually went to my economics teacher. I think it was my economics class. And I said, okay, I have a problem. This guy is reporting me, he's stalking me, and can you just get him off my back? And I remember they called him and I had a conversation with him about, just allowing women their, private space. And then when that didn't work, I then went to the Nigerian guys in the school and I called a meeting and I said, look, you need to tell this guy I'm sick and tired of him coming to my room, coming everywhere. I need him to leave me alone immediately. So they called him, had a meeting with him, and said, look, Moji is complaining. She, and...
Like, free her now.
Anyway, I think at some point he now decided, is she the only girl in this world? Let me make
I was wondering. I free you.
And so he started flirting or seeing this really beautiful, blonde, tall, model-like Eastern European girls. And when they're fine, they're fine.
They're fine.
Yeah. And then I was like, la 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 la, I don't care. I did. I sort of signaled to him that I may like him, and the rest is history. When we got together, so imagine,
you signaled to him.
So imagine the teacher that I had gone to report him to
now
seeing us holding hands, going for a walk. He was totally confused. He just smiled and thought, why did I even take teenagers seriously in the first case? Yeah.
Wow.
So that was very interesting.
And it's been 30 years.
It's been 30 years. So we've been together for 29 years. I'm married for 19 years. Yeah.
Wow. Man, that's
it's a long time. But I remember everything.
So all of this, you losing your job, starting a new company, accusations and this and that has been with him.
Yes.
So all this success has been with him in the picture. So what say ye then to what say ye then to folks, especially the women folk, who believe that, now I believe whoever wants to get married should get married, whoever doesn't want to get married shouldn't get married. But there is a particular school of thought that preaches that if you want to have a career as a woman, then you don't need no man, right? Men will hold you down. Men will finish you to the kitchen. Men will relegate your life. They will squash you in a cage. I don't get it.
Well,
because you're successful. You're married with 3 beautiful kids.
Well, marriage is not a KPI of life. It's not what you'll be marked on when you get to heaven, right?
True.
So if you find the partner, your friend, your destiny partner, marry the person. If he likes you, you like him. If you don't find a destiny partner, don't go into a relationship because you think it's a KPI. It's not a KPI. It is a good thing to find a wife, to find a husband. It's a good thing, but it's not a compulsory thing. And it's not the only thing. And it's not a life KPI. It's not, you don't not exist because you haven't married. So I think the energy you're getting from a lot of women is, I haven't found the person. What do? I need to get on with life. So they may be saying it in ways that are triggering to other people. But what they're really trying to say is, what do I do if I haven't found this best friend? I haven't met him yet, or he hasn't met me. What do? I need to get on with life. I can't just sit here and watch paint dry. So the energy you're getting, they may be saying it in ways that, that you don't comprehend, is that I need to get on with life if I haven't found that soul partner that I believe that God has sent to me.
Now, but if they haven't, found who their own partner is, what then is that narrative of now telling all the young women that you don't need a man in your life? So it's either marriage or your career. That's it. It's either marriage or your career. And they make it sound like women have to choose. Now, you've successfully handled marriage and you've done career. So
yes, I mean, people say things, and I have said things. Have you seen a woman who said that when she falls in love? She just goes back to people and says, I said it, I'm now unsaying it. Right? There's nothing, when you find love, your partner, everything else you said, you would accept that you are being defensive. So who is pouring into you and what season of life are they in? Okay? So the fact that I found love 9 years ago doesn't mean it will happen for everyone at 17 years old. Now, the lady who's saying that to other people, maybe she's been defensive, but I've not yet met a woman who faced the love of her life, who was able to keep saying that love and marriage is not necessary. It's not necessary, but it's not enjoyable. And that two is better than one. And I know loads of people that have said that in the past. And then when they collide with the love of their life, they jackpot.
They will send their signal.
Yes, they'll send their signal. And they'll meet the guy. So you need to be careful on the season the person is in and what they're saying and where they're saying it from. If they're wounded, they will bleed on you. They will bleed on you. And that's understandable. So it's for the recipients to know. So for example, my mom is a single mother. And when I was growing up, when she was hurting, she would say things to me that I knew later that I had to discard. So if a woman is going through heartache or emotional heartache, she'll tell you all men are, So you'll be cynical about men. And even when good guys come your way, you may not believe them because you've been told that all guys are, And so I knew I needed to discard some of those things to be able to love freely and openly. So it's the same thing. If you meet a friend and she's hurting, something's happening to her in her life, and she says you don't need a man, you should be able to then balance in ways. So be careful who's pouring into you, because she also reserves the right to change her mind.
Thank you for addressing that. So you just need to find your own person.
Yes.
Right. Now, you as a top female entity in the financial industry, both here at home and abroad, what do you say to girls or ladies who look at other women and pull them down and say, oh, she got there by sleeping her way up? And what do you say to ladies that actually believe that they actually have to sleep their way up if they're ever going to get up?
Well, truth is truth. And if that doesn't apply to you, you'll never be triggered because it's not a part of your reality. So it's like someone coming to say to me that I'm European. I'm not going to be upset about it because I'm not European, right? So truth is truth. If that doesn't apply to you, it just sounds pretty. It doesn't even trigger you, right? Because it's not true. And for those who think you need to, sleep your way to the top, I actually think differently. I actually think that, and I've said it before, that men hate sex in the boardroom. So if you do want to get into the boardroom, you need to ensure that the men can vouch for you inside out. So there's a ceiling, there's a place you get into, and that stops working into the next room. So that's what I personally think. I don't think you need to do that. I think there's so many other things that you may not see about yourself that you could use. It could take time, and others may rise faster initially or in the long run or whatever it is. But you can't change who you are. And not even your desire to rise to the top can make you change who you are. You can't change who you are. So my answer is no, you don't need to do any of those things. to get to the top. There are many people who have stood in what they believe, who are at the top. They may not be on a podcast like me, but there are thousands of people. Find those people and make sure they're your mentors.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now we're at a time when now we drove here in a Mercedes, right? Now, people seeing us in the Mercedes. I drive a Mercedes too. Now we have 13-year-olds wanting to drive Mercedes. We have people who see the glam, the glitz, they see your success, they see your highlights, and there's no patience in them to want to understand the journey. I mean, we've been on about the journey since your schooling, your work, your marriage, the sacrifices you've had to pay. But I think we've not really dwelt on the sacrifice. Now we're getting there. Now, what role do you think family plays in the sense of urgency to succeed that this generation has?
I didn't even know 13-year-olds could drive. I thought you needed to be 16 or 18 years to get a driving license. So, family is huge. Your family probably determine your template in life and your DNA. Your parents are such a huge force on your patience. They're not the only force, but they're a huge force in your patience. If your parents tell you to be patient, and encourage you to be patient in situations, you'll probably be patient if you listen to your parents. And if there's, especially for young people, that's pressure to come back and look after your parents. Sometimes in some children, it can create an anxiety and impatience to come and take their parents out of whatever situation they're in, take their parents out of poverty, buy a car, and I always say this, don't, do good things and end up in hell, So you don't want to bring your parents out of poverty and have done so many things that you end up resenting your parents for. When you look back on it and think, I did this because I wanted to do that for you. So patience is the game. And if you come from a family or you're surrounded by people that encourage you to be patient and wait for God and wait for your time and your season, it's probably easier to be able to be patient. There's no getting around patience, and there's no getting around frustrating seasons in your life. You can circumvent them, but it'll probably come back and bite you down the line.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. And now one question before we, came into this. I mean, you've achieved a lot of things in your life, in your personal life, in your work life. And you are, for lack of, I just say you're a successful woman. Now, there are people who believe that a successful woman cannot keep a home at the same time. And men are intimidated by the success of women, especially husbands are intimidated by the successes of their wives. Now, that's a narrative. Now, so what has it been in your case?
Well, powerful men are attracted to powerful women. Weak men are scared of powerful women. Whenever you see a powerful man, there's a powerful or strong woman around him. It may not be his wife, it could be his mother, it could be his sister, but drawing on that energy, there's somebody playing that, mutual energy game with him, right? So secure men they actually are attracted and fascinated by secure women. So the home is a very interesting place because different women have different experiences. I look up to my husband because he comports himself with the majesty of a king, right? I just love, I even love the way he talks. He's so calm and he's so balanced. And so even if you are riding high in finance, in the finance industry, when I go and I ask him for advice, just even the way he comports himself makes me submit to him automatically. So it's not every woman that doesn't know how to keep a home. We started off by saying, find your friend, find your destiny partner. Because your destiny partner, what's a big deal to a guy who is not your destiny partner? When you tell him, he's like, there's some things I say to my husband. I could share one with you. The other day, I was being a spoiled brat. And he just looked at me like, you are spoiled, Sha. And he just started laughing. He really thought it was funny, this brat thing that I was doing. And it didn't rub him off the wrong way. And he wasn't seeing what I was doing as spoiled brat because you are successful. He just saw it as Mojisola being a brat. That was it. And he left it in that hole. And he was laughing at me.
Now, Mama, the challenge now there is that some people are not successful and they are still spoiled brats. And that now makes men conscious of asking. I mean, I think you've done well for yourself. You're allowed to be a brat, right? So what do you think of men that actually ask women and say, hey, what do you bring to the table? Do you think it's a fair question to ask?
Well, I'm value-based, I'm values-based, okay? And I think in everything, not just in marriage, in this relationship, we should be exchanging value, respect, honor, love, mentorship, menteeship. We should be bringing something to each other. Otherwise, what are we taking away from this engagement? So when people ask, what are you bringing to the table? I don't know that they're always talking about financial. It could be support. I went out with a client last night and he couldn't get into, we thought we had booked somewhere and we couldn't get into it. And he was explaining like he thought his peer had booked it. I just picked up the phone and called someone who I knew was a member and we got in. So you should be adding value. And this is a very powerful man. And we should be adding value, not only in the home. You should be adding value to your friends. You should be adding value to your family, your mother, your father. I'm the one that books all my mom's makeup. Even to your mom, to your siblings, you should be adding value. You can't go through life thinking that you can only take from people and not give back. In the aspects of being a brat, I think everyone is entitled to be a brat, okay? Because you're human and you want someone to spoil you and you want someone to laugh. And men are allowed to be brats too, right? Mm-hmm. So I think what it is I think if the person is being unrealistic about their expectations. So we're just starting off and you want to live in a mansion in Miami by the sea. It could be difficult if your husband or your wife is just trying to build up a saving. But I said this to you this morning. You should have known that in your KYCN before you marry the person. People hardly change. You probably were not looking in the right things. So I find that lady or that guy was that way even before you got married to them or even before money came. So it's really that we need to be making sure that we know the people that we're getting married to. We know the people we're deciding to take as life partners. So yes, and that's my response to that. That you should make sure that person is your life partner. Make sure that you're vibing on the same energy, and that you know the personality, the character of the person before you get married to them. And we're all learning, by the way. I still get shocked by people.
Thank you. Are you now saying that money does not change people?
Money hardly changes people. That thing was in them from before. Many years ago, I had a friend who said to me, Moji, if I had your money, my dara leko. So I actually went to go and find out what dara meant at the time. So people are incubating stuff. You don't know. It's boiling inside them. They don't have it. It hasn't exhibited itself. But it's there. Yes. So that means that if that person, she's planned exactly what she's going to do. She's planned exactly how she's going to talk to people or how she's going to flex. what she's going to do. She may change her mind, on that maybe when she gets it. But she was incubating something. So the minute she gets money, all that act 1, scene 1, act 7, it's all going to come pouring out.
So it's not like people are humble. They're just broke.
Some people are humble.
So
a lot of people are humble. But the people who are masking, it comes out.
It comes out
when they do
have money. So I think, we've done business, we've done family, and let's just talk Moji. Now tell us 5 things that we don't know about you, because trust me, you're one of like the most Googled persons of 2023, and we don't know Jack, low key. So tell us something that we don't know.
That I've just moved to Abuja, opened an office in Abuja with my husband.
Expansion. Thanks for telling us that. Is that an exclusive?
No. That I'm a clown and I love making people laugh. So if you're close to me and you come around or I come around to yours, we'll be laughing the whole evening.
Okay.
That I don't like eating out. I love eating in my house.
You don't eat out?
I don't. I love eating in my house. I love my environment because food is an occasion, right? So I love eating, then we're gisting, then we stop. I stand up, I do something. I can do Running Man and go back to my meal. You can't really do that in the restaurant, right? So I want to stop, eat, argue, shout, gesticulate, dance a bit, then go back to the table, and then we'll continue eating. So the drama of food, I feel, is best done in a safe space with friends that have access to you, and then you gist, you laugh, you scream and shout. I pray every morning at 5 a.m. in the morning. I take an hour to spend time with my Father, speaking to Him, downloading from Him, hearing from Him, and Him giving me a strategy for the day. So it's important to me. So I try as much as possible to make that happen. Number 5. I don't want to say it.
Which is? Tuck, 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 tuck.
If I say it, my husband is going to say, why did you say that?
Now I want to know. Say it.
You know the Eastern European girl I was talking about? That one that when I said no, she said yes. I'm still beefing her.
Women.
And I still ask him, so tell me, did you guys kiss? He says, what happens in Vegas?
Stays in Vegas.
I'm upset. I'm so
Oh my. Thank you for sharing those personal details with us. Now, you talked about, waking up to pray, and so what's pray, worship? So what's worship like for you? Give us your top 3 gospel ministers.
Oh, Nathaniel Bassey.
1.
Dunsi Oyekon.
3. 2.
Sissy Winans.
Yes. So if you were to take 10 seconds to describe one of them, which would you pick?
I think Sissy Winans.
As to why you love Sissy Winans.
Yes. I think she's wholesome.
Hold it. Aha! Now this is the point where you are now going to ṣàlàyé fún wa ìdí tẹ́ fi fẹ́ràn Sissy Winans lédè Yorùbá láì fi Gẹ̀ẹ́sì kankan sí. Wow. Olórí àgbáyé ni arábìnrin Sissy Winans. Kí ni ìdí tẹ́ ṣe fẹ́ràn orin rẹ̀?
Mo fẹ́ràn Sissy Winans. Obìnrin yẹn tó bá ń kọrin. Ẹ̀mí Ọlọ́run máa ń bà lé mi. Òpin.
All right. Now, on top of that, we've come to the Okmi this particular podcast. I mean, we've talked business, we've talked family, we've talked sacrifice, we've talked the struggle, we've talked faith, we've talked motherhood, and I mean, you've talked about the sacrifices that you had to pay. Yesterday you were sharing with us your fasting, your consecration, prayer, confession, And you mentioned that there was a time when the word was all you had to hold on to. So one last word for the believer out there who has a dream, who has listened to everything that you shared today, who's encouraged, and is watching this right now. What's your word to that person who wants to really succeed and do it right?
Don't doubt God. What he said to you in the secret place, don't doubt him when you get to the public. Don't doubt him. It would look like it's not going to happen. When is it going to happen? I am still waiting for some prophetic words on my life 12 years later. But he's faithful and he will never betray you. So what he told you in the secret place, hold on to it. And regardless of what else is going on around you and the ways other people are using to achieve those things, you just hold on to what he has told you. And he will prove himself true and everyone a liar.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm so honored. I know you have to rush somewhere now.
I do.
But thank you for patiently waiting. Thank you for giving my team and I this wonderful time. Thank you for blessing the world with the gift of Mojisola.
Thank you. And thank you for asking me to be here. It's always a pleasure and honor spending time with you, laughing, vibing, gisting.
And guess what? I'll help you find out. All right, guys, we've come to the end. God bless you. I'll see you sometime again. Bye.